She picked food like it was spiritual warfare. Her hands moved fast, as if guided by ancestors, and her nose, they say she could smell party jollof rice from 3 compounds away even before the music started. Children called her Aunty Cooler. Adults called her Madame Leftover. But behind closed doors, everyone called her the one who eats without invitations. In every Nigerian village, there is always that one person, the one everyone talks about, but no one talks to directly. In Umuagu, that person was Mama Ngozi. Nobody knew where she lived exactly. Nobody had ever seen her cook. She had no husband, no children, no friends. But every weekend, her cooler was full of food, and not just ordinary food, party food. She never missed any event. Wedding, she was there. Burial, already at the gate. Naming ceremony, sitting in front with 2 coolers before the baby even cried. She didn't greet people. She didn't mourn with families. She didn't smile. She came quietly, dressed in lace blouse, red headscarf, and always smelling of cheap perfume mixed with something odd, a kind of smell that reminded people of old stew and wet shoes. People whispered, "Who invited her? Who is she related to? Why is her cooler bigger than the cooking pot?" But Mama Ngozi always had an answer. She would say, "My late uncle's friend's son once fetched water for the groom's auntie. That makes me family." Once she said that, nobody could argue. She would move straight to the food area. Jollof rice, moi moi, fried meat, small chops, egusi soup, Fanta, zobo. She packed everything. Coolers filled to the top, nylon bags tied tightly, foil paper wrapped with speed. Nothing escaped, not even a chicken bone. Even the servers were scared of her. They said her eyes looked like she could see their dreams. She picked food like it was spiritual warfare. Her hands moved fast, as if guided by ancestors. And her nose, they say she could smell party jollof rice from 3 compounds away even before the music started. One cloudy morning, a strange news spread to Umu AGU. There was going to be a burial in Umudike, the next village. But this was no ordinary burial. No drums, no music, no drinks, no dancing. Just a grave, dug deep behind a broken house, and a black clay pot of food placed beside it. Old women whispered, "It is an offering for the dead." They say the man was not fully human. They say he made a deal before he died. No one touched the food. Even the flies flew away. Even the wind moved in the other direction. But then, Mama Ngozi heard about the burial. They say she was sitting in her room when her nose twitched and her eyes flashed. She said to herself, "Something smells like rice." She carried her coolers, wore her red scarf, sprayed perfume, and walked straight to Umudike. No invite, no shame, no fear. When she got there, the mourners had already left. Just the grave, the clay pot, and the silence. She looked around. No one. She opened the clay pot and smiled. The rice was still hot. The stew smelled like roasted fish and dry pepper. She packed everything. She even took the spoon. Later that night, she sat alone in her room. She unwrapped the nylon, opened her cooler, and ate the rice, every grain, every bone. She licked her fingers, smacked her lips, and smiled. But then her smile faded. Her eyes began to change color, black like burnt pot. Her tongue turned dry and bitter, like bitter leaf that was never washed. She felt something moving inside her belly, scratching, crawling, breathing. She opened her mouth to shout, but only smoke came out. She fell to the ground, her fingers twisted, her toenails turned gray. Her hair fell out in one sweep. Her cooler shook by itself. The foil paper inside melted like butter. She laughed, but it was not her voice. It sounded like many voices. Men, women, babies, animals, all laughing at once. She looked in her broken mirror, and she didn't see herself. She saw something else. Neighbors noticed her house was quiet. No sound, no cooler noise, no smell. They decided to check for her. When they entered, Mama Ngozi was gone. Only her cooler remained, but it had changed. It was now black like charcoal. Inside, they saw bones, bones of different sizes, and stew that smelled like a grave. The cooler was shaking. One neighbor tried to touch it, but his hand became stiff, and for one whole week he couldn't speak again. Since that day, no one has seen Mama Ngozi. But every now and then, when there's a party in a nearby village, and people are eating and dancing, someone will ask, "Did anyone see that woman in red scarf?" If you look around quickly, you might see her standing behind the food table, cooler in hand, eyes dark, smiling too much. She doesn't eat in front of people anymore. She eats at night.
And if you ever eat food that doesn't belong to you, without asking, without knowing where it came from, she will find you. Moral of the story: don't go where you are not invited. Not every food is meant to be eaten. Greed and longer throats can open doors that can never be closed. Thanks for watching.